Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. We are less than 24 hours away from the NHL Trade Deadline. That's right, the NHL Trade Deadline is tomorrow on Friday, March the 6th at 9 a.m. Central Time. NHL Network will have all the coverage for you. And as I said on Tuesday's episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast, I will drop a reaction episode to the NHL Trade Deadline sometime Friday afternoon. And if not Friday afternoon, then this weekend for you guys to watch or listen to. So be on the lookout for that. And also make sure to like and subscribe to the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast YouTube channel, along with following on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Episodes come out every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and then 2:30 p.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell button, so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes of the Hockey Talk TG Podcast and the latest hockey news going around the league. Now, before we go ahead and get started into the NHL news for today, I just wanted to tell you guys how this episode will go down. So yesterday there was 5 games on the slate for today. We'll do an in-depth recap of 2 NHL games that came on yesterday while still mentioning the other 3. And then we'll talk about some trades that's happened recently. And then we'll wrap up the podcast episode for today with the NHL games on the slate. And then some more news after that, and then we'll update you guys on teams that are currently in a playoff spot, both in the West and Eastern Conference. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into the NHL news for today. Vegas Golden Knights, Detroit Red Wings. Tomas Hertl scored the overtime game-winning goal in the Golden Knights 4-3 overtime win over Detroit Red Wings on Wednesday. Scored on the power play with 2 minutes 11 seconds into overtime. Tomas Hertl scored on the power play. He also had an assist for a 2-point night. And with the win, Vegas improves to 29, 19, and 14 of the season. And this was a come-from-behind game for the VGK Vegas Golden Knights, as they were down 3-1 in this game. And they scored 3 unanswered goals to win the game. And they were playing a back-to-back set heading into this one, as they lost 3-2 to the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesdays. So they really did need this win, and they got it. They are currently first in the Pacific Division with a, again, 29, 19, and 14 record with 72 points. My boy Mitch Marner, he had a goal and 2 assists for a 3-point night. I feel bad that he didn't win gold medal with Canada in the Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, Italy, but it is what it is. Still rooting on for Mitch Marner. Riley Smith and Ivan Barbashev also scored for Vegas. Aiden Hill made 23 saves on 26 shots faced the net. And the Golden Knights wrap up their 5-game road trip with a 2-3-0 record. They're back at home against the Minnesota Wild on Friday, taking on Quinn Hughes in the Minnesota Wild. And congratulations to Kirill Kaprizov for setting the record for most goals scored by a Minnesota Wild player. He did that in their game on Tuesday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So he now has the most goals scored by a Minnesota Wild player in franchise history. But that should be a good matchup on Friday between the Wild and the Golden Knights. Quinn Hughes, Jack Eichel, 2 teammates who played each other with Team USA in the Winter Olympics, and they both won gold medal with Team USA. So they're going to be squaring off against each other in the Sin City on Friday night. And for the Detroit Red Wings, Alistair Brinkett and Simone Everson each had a goal and assist for a 2-point night. Emmett Finney also scored for Detroit. Cam Talbot made 21 saves on 25 shots faced the net. And Dylan Larkin did lead this game with a upper body injury. This was late in the third period, and he was unable to return in overtime. And according to head coach Todd McClellan, his status will depend on how he feels going into Thursday's game. And the Red Wings, they will play the actually they're not playing today. thought they were, but when is the next game? They do play tomorrow, though, against the two-time Cup champion Florida Panthers. So we'll see how Dylan Larkin is for Thursday, and we'll see if he's able to play in tomorrow's game against the Florida Panthers. This was Detroit's first home game since January 31st, so it's kind of hard to believe, but yet again, we did have the Olympic break, and the Red Wings had been on the road for a while, and they were finally back home on Wednesday night. They honored their players who participated in the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, Italy. Honored Dylan Larkin, who played for Team USA. He won the gold medal with Team USA. I was going to say he was the captain of that USA hockey team, but I think it was Austin Matthews. But I think the C should have gone to Dylan Larkin for Team USA. He was captain of the Four Nations last year, and I think he should have been given the C this year. But I think Austin Matthews was the captain of that USA team in the Olympics. Moritz Seider, he also played in the Olympics, played for Team Germany. And Lucas Raymond, he was on Team Sweden for the Winter Olympics. And the Red Wings also honored Patrick Kane's 1,375-point milestone that happened. I think this was back in, I want to say, January, because, again, that was when the Red Wings last played their game at home. So I want to say it was somewhere in January or February before the Olympic break. And they had Patrick Kane, his wife, his kids, and everybody out there to celebrate him. Alistair Brinken, Dylan Larkin was in that team photo. We saw Mike Modano, who played for the Detroit Red Wings. I know it's kind of hard to believe that Mike Modano played for the Detroit Red Wings, since most hockey fans, or all hockey fans, know him for playing with the Minnesota North Stars and the Dallas Stars. In fact, fun fact, in case you guys didn't know, before the Dallas Stars became the Dallas Stars, they were called the Minnesota North Stars. So they were called the Minnesota North Stars originally, and then they moved to Dallas, and then they called themselves the Dallas Stars. But yeah, most hockey fans remember him playing for the Minnesota North Stars and the Dallas Stars. So it's kind of hard to think that he played for the Detroit Red Wings, but he did. And he was also there in that team photo with Patrick Kane. That was who Patrick Kane beat his record. He passed Mike Modano for most points by USA all-time born player. And Chris Chelios was there. Chris Chelios played for the Detroit Red Wings back in the day and won the Stanley Cup with the Red Wings. He also played for the Blackhawks and the Canadiens. So he played for 3 original 16. He was also there in that team photo with Patrick Kane. So it was just a great night overall for Detroit. And good to see him back at home in the Motor City. But with this loss, Detroit drops to 35-20-7 of the season. They are third in the Atlantic with 77 points. And we all know their story. We talked about this on Tuesday's episode of the Hockey Talk TG podcast. And I think we talked about this overall throughout this entire season, both on and off air. Red Wings have not made the playoffs since 2016. And Joe Louis Arena was still around at the time. I'm trying to actually see their roster. I know Dylan Larkin was a rookie then. Herman Zetterberg was still on the team. The Joe was still around. Pavel Datsyuk was playing his last season in the NHL. Tomas Tatar was on the team. Peter Mrazek was on the team then. Jimmy Howard was on the team then. Mike Green was on the team then. Andreas Athanasiou on the team then. So that Red Wings team was so much different than what it was now. And so Red Wings are trying to make this push to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think they can get it done. They were so close the last few seasons. I think this is the year that we see Detroit Red Wings playoff hockey. Unfortunately, it won't be at the Joe, but it will still be playoff hockey in Detroit. So, and as a Blackhawks fan, playoff hockey in Detroit is so special to watch. I mean, it really is. Nothing like playoff hockey in Detroit. One of the best arenas to go watch a hockey game or a playoff game is watching some playoff Detroit Red Wings hockey. And I wish the Joe was still around because that arena was so loud during playoff times. And unfortunately, they tore it down in 2017. But the Red Wings are back at home on Friday against the two-time Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, the back-to-back Cup champs. That game will come on at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time on NHL Network for you guys to watch. Golden Knights, they're back at home to take on the Minnesota Wild on Friday at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're moving on from the Motor City to Newark, New Jersey, as the New Jersey Devils hold off the Toronto Maple Leafs with a 4-3 shootout win in Newark on Wednesday. Paul Cotter with the shootout game-winning goal scored on the backhand past Anthony Stolarz to win the game. And with the win, New Jersey improves to 31-29-2 of the season. They won 3 in a row after losing 5 straight games. And fun fact, this is a personal fun fact for the New Jersey Devils and to anybody that is a New Jersey Devils fan, the Devils ended a 9-game losing streak against the Toronto Maple Leafs at Prudential Center. So they have not won. When was the last time before this game? We probably won't show it, but when was the last time the Devils won a home game against the Toronto Maple Leafs? They probably won't show it since their most recent win at home was yesterday, so they probably won't show it, but I thought maybe they could. Maybe they would show it, but let's see. I don't think I could find it, but anyways, they ended their 9-game losing skid against the Toronto Maple Leafs at Prudential Center on Wednesday. Arseny Gritsuk, hopefully I pronounced that name right, he had a goal and assist for a 2-point night. Timo Meier also scored for the Devils. Connor Brown, he had the game-tying goal for the New Jersey Devils. He scored with 2 minutes and 21 seconds remaining in the third period. Jacob Markstrom made 24 saves in his second straight start after a 5-1 win over the Florida Panthers on Tuesday. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, William Nylander, Matthias Maccelli, and Matthew Knies each scored for Toronto. Anthony Stolarz made 44 saves on 47 shots faced the net. And Toronto has lost their 5th straight game. They are 0-3-2 during the span. They lost 11 of their last 14 games, in which they are 3-8-3 during the span. And they dropped to 27, 24, and 11 of the season. And surprisingly, the Maple Leafs and the Devils are not in a playoff spot. If you were to tell me before this season that started, before the 2025-26 season was going to get underway, the Maple Leafs and Devils will not make the playoffs or will not even be in a playoff spot, I would say, you out your mind. You out your mind. I mean, like, we used to see the Maple Leafs and Devils, especially the Maple Leafs, in a playoff spot, though they get eliminated in the first round for most of the time. We used to see it in the playoff spot. So it's kind of hard to believe that this might be the first time in Austin Matthews' career that he will miss out on the playoffs. But hey, at least Maple Leafs fans get to say nobody else will make fun of our team, because we all know every time the Maple Leafs get eliminated in the first round or so, get exit out of the playoffs too early, people like to say, haven't won the Stanley Cup since 1967, or this happens every year. They're the Dallas Cowboys of hockey. Like, we all know those comments that Maple Leafs fans get and the Maple Leafs themselves get. But probably with the Maple Leafs missing out on the Stanley Cup playoffs, if they do miss out on the Stanley Cup playoffs, which it kind of seems like they will. We are in the final 2 months of the NHL regular season, by the way, before playoff hockey. So it kind of does seem like the Maple Leafs might miss out on the Stanley Cup playoffs. But at least against them, at least nobody will talk negative about the team now that they are eliminated from the playoffs. They're not even in the playoffs. They're not even going to have a first-round exit and whatnot. At least nobody will say nothing about them come playoff time. But yeah, kind of hard to believe that this might be the first time in Austin Matthews' career that he will miss out on these Stanley Cup playoffs, though. So, very interesting. Maple Leafs will play the New York Rangers Thursday at Madison Square Garden at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That should probably be an easy win for them, considering the Rangers' home struggles this season. Both teams are struggling this season, and both teams are. Let's check out the standings. I know the Rangers are 31st in the league. The Maple Leafs are 21st in the league. So the Rangers are struggling more than the Toronto Maple Leafs are. So it could be an easy win for the Maple Leafs against the Rangers, since the Rangers play poorly at home. But we'll see what happens. The Devils also play the Rangers for their next game, but that will be at home in Newark on Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And that game will air on ABC and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. But moving on to some trades. So we're going to talk about some trades that's, happened recently. Starting with Mackenzie Weegar getting traded to the Utah Mammoth by the Calgary Flames on Wednesday for defenseman Oli Mata, forward prospect Jonathan Casatagna, hopefully I pronounced that last name right, and 3 2026 second-round picks. 2 of those second-round picks were previously acquired from the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. Mackenzie Weegar, he's currently in the third year of a 8-year, $50 million contract deal he signed with the Calgary Flames on October 7th, 2022. And he was acquired by Calgary along with Jonathan Huberdeau in the trade that sent Matthew Tkachuk, the blockbuster trade that happened in 2022, to the Florida Panthers. So he was part of that trade deal. And at the time of this trade, Mackenzie Weegar had been playing major minutes for Calgary and producing solid offense from the blue line. And take a look at his season's stats. He recorded 21 points in 60 games during the 2025-26 season, 3 goals, 18 assists for 21 points, 60 games during the 2025-26 season. He also averaged 23 minutes and 7 seconds of ice time per game, highlighting his role as a top pair or top 4 defenseman for the Calgary Flames. And for the Utah Mammoth, they're going to be getting an experienced defenseman with puck moving ability and great physical style, and can contribute defensively for the defensive group. So can't wait to see what Mackenzie Weegar does for the Utah Mammoth. And across his NHL career with the Florida Panthers and the Calgary Flames, he notched 272 career points in 610 NHL games, 62 goals, 210 assists for 272 career points in 610 NHL games. And he's also appeared in 20 Stanley Cup playoff games. So, and we all know Utah Mammoth, they're currently in the playoff spot right now. And they're trying to make the playoffs for the first time in their franchise history. No ties to the Arizona Coyotes, by the way. I know that's what some of you guys may be thinking. You may be thinking, well, tied. Technically, they did make the playoffs before, when they were still the Arizona Coyotes, when they were still the Phoenix Coyotes. But when they moved to Utah, it was a fresh new team. The Arizona Coyotes were gone. Utah Mammoth had been born when they moved to Utah. So this is an entirely different new team. Unfortunately, no hockey in the desert. Hopefully they bring a team back to Arizona sometime soon, just like they did with the Winnipeg Jets when the original Winnipeg Jets moved to Arizona and called themselves the Phoenix Coyotes, and then the Atlanta Thrashers moved back up to Winnipeg and called themselves the Winnipeg Jets. Hopefully we see something like that soon, because I miss hockey in Arizona in the desert, and I'm pretty sure fans do too. Their last game was at Mullet Arena, which is where the Arizona Sun Devils play at. And they were taking on Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, and that last game was emotional. I think I cried a tear. So even though I'm not a Coyotes fan, I'm a Blackhawks fan, but we had some great battles with the Arizona Coyotes back in the Western Conference. So the Coyotes were part of the Pacific Division, and then at one point they moved to the Central Division, and Blackhawks had a couple of great battles with them, including in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, and They will always pack the arena come playoff time wearing all white and stuff. So it was always loud for playoff hockey in the desert. So, yeah, but that last game was emotional. It was also a great game. I think the Arizona Coyotes won that game, by the way. So, yeah, hopefully we see a team back in Arizona sometime soon. But anyway, going back to the trade topic with Mackenzie Weegar, I think he'll be a great defenseman for the Utah Mammoth. I think he plays a physical style game, not afraid to get into fights, and the Mammoth were already one of the league's better defensive teams before adding Mackenzie Weegar, and they just got a whole lot better. Before the trade, Utah ranked top 5 in fewest goals allowed per game and shots allowed per game. And at the time of the deal, the team sat 4th in the Central Division and in a Western Conference wildcard playoff position. And so far, they're 32-25-4 this season with 78 points, occupying that first wild card playoff spot. But overall thoughts, I like this trade from the Utah Mammoth. Losing Ole Nylander does hurt because he also has playoff experience, and not to mention that he's won 2 cups, in which the Mammoth are, looking for somebody that's not only won a Stanley Cup, not only has playoff experience, but has won a Stanley Cup as well. But let's take a look and see where Mackenzie Weegar is expected to slot in. So according to, he's actually not even on. Is he injured? I don't know. He probably might have not made it official yet, but I'm on Daily Faceoff trying to see where would they put him in defensive pairings. But I could see him playing, like I said, top 4 role defenseman. So I could see him getting slotted somewhere in there. But still staying on the defenseman topic, we saw another defenseman get traded on Wednesday. Tyler Myers getting traded to the Dallas Stars by the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday for a 2027 second-round pick and a 2029 fourth-round selection. Tyler Myers waived his no-movement trade clause to make this trade official and to get it done. And he's actually from Texas. He's from Houston, Texas. So I'm pretty sure he wanted to do this and come back to his hometown and come back to his home state after being on such a poorly Vancouver Canucks team, and looks to win a cup with his hometown Dallas Stars. I know he said he's from Houston, but Texas is his home state, so that's why I said that. Unfortunately, Houston does not have a NHL team. I think they did. They had one back in the day. This was in the WHA, World Hockey Association. They had the Houston Aeros back in the day in the WHA from 1994 to 2013. Actually, they were in the WHA from 1971 to 1978, and then they were a AHL minor league team. They were a minor league team in the AHL from 1994 to 2013, but they played in the WHA from 1971 to 1978. And for those who watched the Gordie Howe movie, you will know that Gordie Howe was on the Houston Aeros. They actually do have a Gordie Howe movie. For those that did not know that, I'll be happy to put that link in the description for you guys to watch if you are interested in watching the movie. I think you can watch it on YouTube or somewhere, but I will put it in the description if you're interested in watching the movie, because they actually did show Gordie Howe playing for the Houston Aeros in the movie. But no hockey team in Houston right now, just like they have an NBA team, the Houston Rockets, but no hockey team in Houston, unfortunately. The Canucks retain 50% of Tyler Myers' salary, and the Dallas Stars, we all know what their spot is. They are in win now mode. They have won a franchise record of 10 games. So they won 10 games in a row, franchise record right there. They're second in the Central Division, and they're 38-14-9 of the season with 85 points in the Central Division. And let's see. Tyler Myers will be a depth defenseman to add, so I think this was a good trade for both sides. He He's currently on a 3-year contract deal. He signed with Vancouver Canucks in 2024, which carries a $3 million AAV value through the 2026-27 season. And we all know Dallas has a stacked team. I'm pretty sure I said that before on and off air. We all know they have a stacked team. We all know the story of them going all the way to the Western Conference Finals and falling up short. Their offense was really good over the past few years. Their offense is still good. The defense just got a whole lot better with a healthy Miro Heiskanen, and now adding this big defenseman in Tyler Myers. That is so stacked right there. They add size and experience on defense, and one of Tyler Myers' biggest assets is his physical profile and veteran presence. The right shot defenseman stands at 6'8" and weighing at 220 pounds, bringing reach, physicality, and shot blocking ability to the Dallas Stars defensive pairings. He also brings 17 years of NHL experience, giving Dallas another veteran option during the Stanley Cup playoffs. He is likely to slot into a depth role rather than a top pairing position. He's projected to play on the third defensive pairing behind top defenders like Miro Heiskanen and Tomas Harley. And that role allows Dallas to add physical depth without disrupting the structure of their top defensive pairings. And offensively, Tyler Myers is not a high-scoring defenseman at this stage of his career. He recorded one goal and 7 assists for 8 points in 57 games this season for the Vancouver Canucks. And his value comes more from defensive reliability, penalty killing, and physical presence rather than offensive production. And for the Canucks, they're the worst team in the league, as we all know. Sitting at the bottom of the standings with a 18, 36, and 7 record with 43 points. So they're going to be sellers at the deadline, looking to get Gavin McKenna come 2026 NHL draft. So we'll see how everything will go in that direction. But a great trade for the Dallas Stars and the Vancouver Canucks. But moving on to another trade that's happened recently. Chicago Blackhawks trading Jason Dickinson and Colton Dach to the Edmonton Oilers Wednesday for Andrew Mangiapane and a conditional 2027 first-round pick. Blackhawks retain 50% of Jason Dickinson's salary, and Jason Dickinson is in the final season of his 2-year contract deal with a $4.25 million AAV. So now Edmonton carries roughly half that hit. And this was the second trade between the Blackhawks and the Oilers ahead of the NHL Trade Deadline tomorrow. The Blackhawks traded Connor Murphy to the Edmonton Oilers for a 2028 second-round pick. But taking a look at Andrew Mangiapane, he now has 14 points in 52 games played with the Edmonton Oilers during the 2025-26 season. 7 goals, 7 assists for 14 points in 52 games played. He also brings a strong physical element, ranking 7th on the Oilers with 51 hits, which fits Chicago's effort to add competition and experience to their forward group. We all know they kind of lack physicality for the forward group. I think Colton Dach would have still fit that description because he also was a physical player to watch on the team. So I don't think the Blackhawks should have traded him. I think he should have still kept on the team because not only was he a young player, but he was also a physical player, and he could have been still useful for the Blackhawks during this rebuild. So I don't know why KD made that trade in the first place. Jason Dickinson, I'm kind of fine with leaving because he was expected to be traded, and he wasn't really doing too much of anything on the Blackhawks this season. So, yeah. But he does fit the Oilers' center depth as they have now boosted their center depth with adding Jason Dickinson, who is a reliable two-way forward known for his defensive responsibility. He had 13 points in 47 games played with the Blackhawks this season, 6 goals, 7 assists, 6-7 for 13 points in 47 games played for the Blackhawks this season. And his ability to play in all situations, including penalty kill, makes him a versatile middle six option for the Edmonton Oilers. And like I said before, Oilers are stacked on their center depth. They now have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Adam Henrique. I just want to see which role Jason Dickinson play. I think he's going to be a bottom six forward. Bottom six forward to watch. Could be playing third line, if not fourth line. But we'll see how everything will go from there. But moving on to the other player involved in this trade, Colton Dach. He gives Edmonton size and physicality. He played 2 seasons with the Blackhawks. Could have been more. Recorded 16 points in 78 games played. 5 goals, 11 assists for 16 points in 78 games played. His physical style and size provides Edmonton with another bottom 6 option capable of bringing energy and forechecking pressure. Overall thoughts, as a Blackhawks fan, I was hoping not to see Colton Dach get traded. Like, I didn't like that Kyle Davidson traded Colton Dach. I think he still could have been around for the rebuild. Currently 23 years old. He could have had a lot more potential for the Chicago Blackhawks. He still could have been a great player for this rebuild. He had the physicality, and that's what the Blackhawks had lacked in their forward group, the physicality. Defensively, the Blackhawks are stacked with physicality with Alex Vlasic, Wyatt Kaiser, Louis Crevier. So I wasn't really worried about too much of the defense as I am with the offense. But yet again, Blackhawks did trade Connor Murphy, which kind of lost a veteran presence in that locker room for the defensive pair. But I think somebody like Alex Vlasic will step up more in that defensive role for Connor Murphy. So, yeah. But overall, though, I don't know. I think it's a good side between both teams. I just hated to see Colton Dach go. But we all know the Blackhawks situation. They're going to be rebuilding and strengthening up their team for the future. For the Oilers, they're going to be making a look at third run to the Stanley Cup final after losing in the past 2 seasons to the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup final, both 2024 and 2025. So we'll see what happens there. But taking a look at the other games from the Wednesday slate, Hurricanes win a thriller one in Vancouver 6-4. One of the best teams in the league versus the worst team in the league. So, and it turns out it was a high-scoring game. I don't know how that came to be, but hockey is hockey. So greatest sport and game in the world. Nikolai Ehlers with a hat trick in the win. Ducks take down Matthew Schaefer and the New York Islanders by a final score of 5-1, in which we saw Carly Gauthier score twice. Beckett Seneca, he had a goal and assist for a 2-point night in the game. First rookie to 50 points, by the way. Now has 20 goals, 31 assists for 51 points in 61 games. And the St. Louis Blues hold off the Seattle Kraken with a 3-2 win. Have the Blues passed the Blackhawks in the wild card standings? They're still under the Blackhawks, though. But the Blackhawks have 56 points. St. Louis has 55 points. And the Blues have won 2 in a row. So they are creeping up on the Chicago Blackhawks. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Though the Blackhawks are back in action tomorrow against the Vancouver Canucks. So should be an easy win for us right there. We'll take a look at the NHL games on the slate for today. There's only 8 NHL games on the slate for today. Starting with the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on New York Rangers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Maple Leafs playing a back-to-back set, coming off a 4-3 shootout loss to the New Jersey Devils, looking to bounce back at Madison Square Garden against the poor home team in the New York Rangers. And then we got the Utah Mammoth taking on the Philadelphia Flyers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Mammoth already in a playoff spot. The Flyers are looking to be in the playoff spot, in which I predicted that the Flyers could make the playoffs this season. They are currently 6 points out of a playoff spot, so they need a huge 2 points. They need this win more than the Mammoth do, but we'll see what happens. Then we got the Buffalo Sabres taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will air on ESPN for you guys to watch. And then we got the 2-time Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got a showdown in the Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. Boston Bruins versus Nashville Predators at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Winnipeg Jets at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then the Ottawa Senators taking on the Calgary Flames at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then the final game of the night will feature Matthew Schaefer and New York Islanders taking on Anze Kopitar and the LA Kings at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And that game will air on ESPN and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. And then before we give you guys the update on the Stanley Cup playoff spot, just to tell you guys the NHL games for tomorrow. After the NHL Trade Deadline, we got the Florida Panthers taking on Detroit Red Wings at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will air on NHL Network. And then we got a 7 o'clock p.m. puck drop between the Colorado Avalanche and the red-hot Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars looking to make it 11 wins in a row against the team that they are trying to chase for first place in the Central Division in the Colorado Avalanche. Both teams, Avalanche is first in the Central. Dallas is second in the Central. Dallas Stars are 6 points away from chasing the Colorado Avalanche. So they're trying to chase them in the Central Division. And then we got a 7:30 p.m. puck drop between the Vancouver Canucks and Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center. Blackhawks first home game since I want to say February before the Olympic break. So they've been on the road for quite a while. Happy to see them back at home tomorrow night at the UC. We'll see what their roster looks like after the trade deadline. They made a couple of trades recently with the Edmonton Oilers. We'll see how many they'll make tomorrow at the deadline, or maybe they might make one more today. We'll see how everything will go for them. Then we got the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Edmonton Oilers, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Montreal Canadiens taking on the Anaheim Ducks at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Minnesota Wild taking on the VGK Vegas Golden Knights at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the St. Louis Blues taking on the San Jose Sharks at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So those are the NHL games for tomorrow at the trade deadline. Let's give you guys a quick update on the playoff chase in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. We'll start with the Eastern Conference first. In the Atlantic, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning in first place with 80 points. Second, we got the Buffalo Sabres with 78 points. And then in third place, we got the Detroit Red Wings with 77 points. For the Metro, we got the Carolina Hurricanes with 84 points. In second place, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins with 75 points. And in third place, we got the New York Islanders with 75 points. And the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins are occupying those wild card playoff spots. Columbus Blue Jackets, Washington Capitals, Ottawa Senators, Philadelphia Flyers, all trying to look in to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's move on to the Western Conference. So first place, we got the Colorado Avalanche with 91 points, best team in the league. Second place, we got the Dallas Stars with 85 points. They won 10 in a row, looking to make it 11 at home today against the Colorado Avalanche. And then, not today, tomorrow. And then, let's see, we got the Minnesota Wild with in third place with 82 points. And then for the Pacific, we got the Golden Knights in first place with 72 points. Anaheim Ducks in second place with 71 points. And then in third place, we got the Edmonton Oilers with 68 points. And the Utah Mammoth and the Seattle Kraken occupying those wild card playoff spots. Got the San Jose Sharks, Nashville Predators, LA Kings all trying to look in to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then one more thing before we sign off on the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. So on Sunday, April the 5th, ESPN and Disney Plus are teaming up to do a Inside Out Classic game. This will feature the Washington Capitals taking on New York Rangers Metropolitan Division Showdown. This will be a 6 o'clock p.m. puck drop on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus. This will be a telecast game. NHL has done these before with the Big City Greens Classic, with the Rangers and Capitals scoring off there. And then I think they had one with the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Boston Bruins. So they've done these telecast games before. They done these animated broadcast games before. So this will be their first one doing it with Inside Out. Other times, like I said, they've done it with the Big City Greens Classic, so this will be their first with Inside Out, which kind of makes sense because, NHL has a partnership with Disney Plus, with them streaming their games on ESPN Plus. So there is a partnership with Disney Plus with the NHL. And also, the character Riley from Inside Out, she plays hockey. She likes hockey. So it kind of makes sense for the NHL to do this Inside Out classic game. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk TG Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button on the YouTube channel. I am on spring break next week, so I could probably show my face to you guys for those who watch the podcast on YouTube channel. I can't do it on my MacBook Pro because the audio file will be too big and it won't let me export it. So that's why the past few episodes, for those who watch the podcast on YouTube, you've just been seeing the cover art screen because I was recording on my Apple computer. Whereas if I record on my Chromebook, video files will not be an issue for me. So since I'm on spring break next week, and since I won't be in the studio, I will record from home, and you guys will get to see my face and my hand movement during the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. Make sure to follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and then 2:30 p.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Both of you guys have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Keep God first as always. Be blessed. Keep an eye out on that Friday afternoon episode that will drop tomorrow after the trade deadline. Once the final horn has sounded, I will be dropping an episode Friday afternoon. Just my reactions to the trade, my thoughts on the trade, in-depth analysis on the trade. If not Friday afternoon, then this weekend. So keep an eye out for this weekend for that episode. And I will see you guys all on probably, I don't know. But yeah, that'll be the next episode coming out for Friday or this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. And then we probably won't do our next episode after that until Tuesday after spring break or so. Because usually when I'm on breaks like this, usually on holidays and on breaks, I like to give myself days off and not to do the Hockey Talk TG podcast. So that's why I said that. So keep an eye out on that episode on Friday afternoon and this weekend. And I'll talk to you guys all again soon on the Hockey Talk TG podcast. Peace.